emodels.co.uk. Make something awesome.
Hello, welcome back to part 3 of the Hasegawa Zaxus 135 US Hitachi excavator. Since the last episode, since part 2 went out, I had a comment on that video from Captain Mac, who tells me that 135 stands for 13.5 tons. That's the size of the machine, and it's also ultra short. So 135 US, 13.5 tons, ultra short. That's the measurement of the engine compartment as it protrudes from the cabin, using his words. He says they're quite neat machines and will fit into tight confines, and they will trailer nicely. So that's probably why they're quite popular with the small scale type sort of builders and type things, plant high people. And also he tells us that also Hitachi machines use metal tracks as well, so that's useful to know. So thanks for that, Captain Mark. Always useful to find out information as we go along. Right, what we're going to do in this video, moving things around on the bench here, we're going to look at building the main boom and the arm assembly, and we're also going to look, if we get enough time in, we'll look at building the dozer blade that goes on the front. That's this bit here. We'll look at building that, hopefully, if we get time. If not, we'll save that till the next part, but we'll crack on and see what we can do. Anyway, I've built a few parts, as you can see in front of me. One of the things that is worthy of mention is the bucket. Now, as you remember from the driver's cab, the driver's door in the last episode, there was some ejector marks. Now this is the same. The bucket, if you could just see inside the bucket also suffers from those ejector marks as well, so they needed filling in. It depends really what you're planning to do with a final model. If you're going to fill the bucket full of earth, yeah, there's not much point in filling it in. Another thing worthy of mention is that this little coupling here, the free to move coupling that clips it onto the digger arm, was ever so slightly loose. And I think if we'd have left it as it was, it would have fallen out a little bit. Now, whether that's just through the moulding process or whatever, but one way I've got around that was just in here, was just to file off the edge of this bucket, right round where the mating parts join, just so it squeezes that coupling a little bit further in. Okay, right, the next thing we do, I've changed the hydraulic rams. That's these bits here. See how these bits are plastic? They're all plastic. What I've done with this, something I picked up off the internet, was I've changed them for some rivets. I used rivets to change them, a bit like this in the photograph. I'll show you how it works in the photograph. Okay, that's how it is. What I do, just nip the end off there. Don't use your best sprue cutters because you'll just ruin them. Take that end off there and it will leave you with a shaft like that. Now, if you want to use some of the metal paints or anything like that, you can quite easily colour these rods in to look like steel. But what I've done, I've used the rivets. They're a little bit shorter than, as you saw in the photograph, a little bit shorter than the rams that came in the kit, but it doesn't matter. I just chopped the end off and then I super glued the end on there, and these do make the rams really look a little bit more realistic. As I say, you can paint them if you want to go down that route, you can do that, but obviously they're going to need priming. Sorry, they're going to need masking before they're painted and primed and painted. That's the right way around. Right. So the bucket arm itself needs to go together. Before we can put it all together, I think the best thing we're going to do next is to take it away and spray it. Now, as I mentioned in part 2, I've sprayed these black, or certainly I've sprayed some of the orange parts black, and this will hopefully give a bit of depth to the orange paint that's going to go on next. So right, off to the spray bench, or I'll get the spray kit out and we'll get these all painted in orange. All right. Oh, we're doing a bit of spraying. I give everything a once over again with the black primer, and then I thought, why not do a little bit of chipping? So what I'm doing now is giving everything a little coat of red primer base, the MIG red primer base. I've used this before on other models. It works quite well, and as you can see, it's a brown as opposed to the black. It darkens it down. Now I'm not applying this everywhere, I'm just applying it in areas where I think it probably would get chipped. If I've got it wrong and I've decided to chip somewhere else, I'll just post chip instead. But then what I'll do, when all this is dried, I'll give it a coat of heavy chipping fluid. Now some of you may have heard of the hairspray technique. This is, instead of hairspray, I think it gives a more uniform type finish. It's not as hit and miss. You know what you're going to get when you use the chipping fluid. Really easy stuff to work. So what I'll do, I'll carry on and do this. I've done that's the arm done. I've already done the bucket. I think I'll give this another coat just of brown when it goes off a little bit, and then I could do some heavy chipping on that. Certainly the bucket's going to take one heck of a lot of abuse, so we'll do some heavy on that. And I would also think that when we come to weathering the teeth and inside the bucket, we'll be almost down to bare metal. Well, we will be down to bare metal, so that'll be a steel type shine to that, but it's all part of the process. I'll carry on to get this done, then we'll put the chipping on. It's just, once again, dead easy to do. I'll put this through the airbrush, put this on, and then we'll put the top coat on, and we'll be ready to go. All right, I'll get on with this, and I'll come back to you when we're ready for the next stage. All right. Oh, I've done that bit. Yeah, let's carry on with this. Right, there we go. We've gone over that in brown, to give it the rust colour underneath. Then I've gone over with, as you saw before, the chipping fluid, and now we're about to shoot some orange through it, through the airbrush, and see if we can get this looking something like the real thing. I'm using Mr. Hobby Orange Aqueous H14, as that says that on the call outs, and we'll try that. Anyway, I've mixed it up with a little bit of real colour, AK thinners. That's suitable for all types of airbrushes and paints, it tells me. So we're going to give it a go. Let's see if it works or it doesn't. Just begin with light coats. There's the airbrush compressor. I'll start again. There's the compressor kicking in. What I'll do, we'll go across and do a little bit of music while I just spray these all orange, just in light coats, and then we're not interrupted all the time with the compressor kicking in. Okay. There, so that's just about it all sprayed. I'll just let the orange dry, and then we can look at doing some chipping. Well, we'll put it all together and then we'll look at some chipping. All right, I'll get this finished off, let it dry, and we'll move on. Right, here we are back, ready to do some chipping. Since the last sort of part of the video, I've actually left this overnight to dry because it was bedtime by the time I got there, and I think we'll find out in a minute. I think I may have left it too long. But never mind, if this doesn't work, we can resort to what we'd originally planned. We're going to use some weathering pencils, but we'll use them anyway. Right, what we need to have a go at this, well, to try at least, is some tepid water. It's not dirty water, it's just the bowl that it's in is a bit grubby in the bottom. A toothbrush, some scrubby paintbrushes, toothpicks, and other sharp pointed implements as you probably find around your workshop. Now the initial way to do this is to apply water to the surface of the orange paint, and it should chip, but I'm finding this a little bit difficult to get through, but we're going to try. I think one of the things is it's probably because it's a gloss paint, so it's holding off the water a little bit longer, I think. But once we break the surface, we should start and reactivate the chipping fluid. See how it's starting to chip in here? Now this has been left since I left it last night and come back to it, it's been left for about 12 hours, and yeah, it does. You can see it's actually starting to work in here, so all is not lost. And it's starting to come off. We'll just do some work on this bucket and see how much we can get done. There. So once we break the surface, we can start and reactivate the underlying chipping fluid. Just try to keep it in shot so you can see what's going on. Starting to come up. It does work. So yeah, so we'll leave it. We've left it for 12 hours and it still does work. It's a little bit harder to work. I think the harder you leave it, the longer it does take to get some activity on the chipping fluid, and the more you perhaps need to give it a go at. Now I'm doing quite a bit of work on the bucket, whereas when I come to the arms, I'll just be sort of chipping like the underneaths and the sides, where it's going to take some sort of wear and tear against the paintwork, and the paint's going to rub off on the edges and things like that. Yeah, same with the lower arm. It'll all go in like that. And I've also built this little bit, the main arm base assembly. This went together just quite easily, just because I wanted to get these rams painted in. Now what I'm going to do, whereas before I showed you how to make the rams from the pop rivets, I'll use the plastic ones with this and show you how, if you haven't got pop rivets, how you can turn these into steel rams. But in the meantime, we'll just continue with chipping this. There we go. Yeah, so once the water gets into it, it does really start coming back. See how using the toothpick, you can pick out the more details. You can apply scratches, and what I'm really going to do with this bucket is actually take most of the paint off the back of it. This is the bit of the digger that of the excavator that does all the work. So even when it came out of the factory freshly painted, it's soon going to have the paint washed off. Yep, so success. Yeah, it was a bit of a frightening moment then. I thought I was going to have to show you the accidents, the mistake. We do the mistakes, so you don't have to. And if you are using chipping fluid only works with the acrylic paints. It's the water-based paints that will allow you to get back into the chipping fluid and reactivate it. It won't work with enamels. I think really all of this paint underneath here is going to need to come off. You may ask why we paint it in the first place, but by painting it you can then take off the paint to your desired effect, rather than trying to apply the paint. It's easier to take it off. So it's giving a nice worn, weathered, used look to it. And of course this is just the first stage. We will go on and use the weathering pencils again. I've not used them before, so it'll be an interesting experience to show you how to use them and find out myself. I know this excavator paint, the original stuff, it's pretty damn tough, so it will take a bit of wear and tear. It's obviously designed for heavy environments. Right, so in the meantime I'll go and carry on chipping with this. I'll work on the arms as well, and then we'll look at putting it together, put some hoses on it and getting the arm and boom finished. Alright, I'll continue chipping. That's a bit of a relief, it's worked. Whew. And there we are. I think that will do for the chipping. I'll just let that piece dry. I'll put it on one side a minute. You can see I've sort of done all the bucket. That'll do for now. This is only the first stage, remember. There's a fair bit more chipping to do as we go on. Chipping and weathering, I mean. There's the upper part of the main boom done. Now it's all a matter of starting to put it together. But before we do that, as promised, I did tell you I was going to show you how to do these and turn them into steel rods, as opposed to using the pop rivets, the rivets that we'd shown you earlier on in the video. Right, what we need for this is obviously the parts themselves, and we're going to use this, some AK True Metal. This is the steel one. You can get it in various colours, brass, aluminium, and such like that. Now I use this on the submarine build. If you haven't seen that, I used it to great effect on there, and it's not a paint, it's not an oil paint. Well, I'm not quite sure. It's a liquid paste. Well, it's paste. Dead easy to do. All we do with it is, in this instance, we'll take a cotton bud or a Q-tip, just put a little bit on there. What we need to do first is spray the surface black. It works best on a black primer, and then just apply it. It's quite greasy, so it goes on quite easily. Thin it all out, put it all on. Now this does give you a good enough effect. If you don't want to go down the route, as I say, of doing the pop rivets, cutting them off for it, if you just haven't got any, there are other types of liquid metals available. This is just one I've got in the box, and I've used it to great effect before, so I'll show you how to do it all again. And that's it, that's that one done. Find somewhere to put that out of the way. We'll do the other one, see how much we've used. Haven't had to replenish this little bit that comes on the Q-tip. You can put it on with your finger, a paintbrush, anything like that. It just goes on well. And just leave it to dry a moment. Doesn't take long to do. It will take a varnish as well. A lot of people asked when I initially showed this, will it take a varnish? It does. I have used it since and have applied a varnish over it. Varnish doesn't seem to affect it too much. It doesn't send it milky or anything like that. It does work. I find it's best if it goes on a piece that's not going to be handled or moved about so much, because it does scratch off. So on things such as the boom arm on this digger, if you were constantly putting the arm up and down to show your friends and things like that, I think it might scratch off. So ideal for surfaces that are not going to be handled or moved about too much. That's that one done. So that's the two. That's as quick as that, and that's as much as we needed. So put the lid back on. Now then, doesn't really need any time at all to do. Just bring the first one back that we've done before, and then just rub it. Just to polish. That's all it needs, a soft cloth. In this case I'm just using a piece of kitchen roll. And already you can see the similarities between the two. One's real, one's plastic. Right, that's that bit done. We'll leave these to dry off. The wax will go a little bit harder, and in the meantime I'll go get prepared and we can put this boom arm together. There, right, this next piece is a little bit complicated. Well, it's not complicated, you just need to follow the instructions, because we're now going to put this boom arm together. And if you do look at the instructions, yeah, it does look very complicated down there, but take it step by step, take your time. There's a few things to do on it, and it all comes together, like the main base assembly over here. It's got some hose pipes, hydraulic hoses, which is in the kit. That's comes in a coil of this rubber pipe. There's some extra bits. There's some little pivot pins in here. These have got to go in as well. These need to be in the right way around. The cement caps. There's lots of things to go together. Now then, once you sprayed it and done all your chipping and everything else like that, what I would suggest is that you go across to the ends. Hang on, we need a special pointer tool for this. What we need is to go across to the ends in here and clean off the paint on the contact points. This is the one that sits in there, so we need to clean off the paint and the contact points in there, and on this piece of the boom arm as well, because the tolerances are quite tight, and if you want some movement in your arm, rather than it binding on the paint, I would just clear the paint out. Right, so let's have a go at this, and I'll try and do this looking through the camera and put it all together. What we need to do first, this one is very fragile. This ram here, quite fragile as it goes in there, because it's super glued on at the end. So that goes in like that, and then we're looking for this pivot pin, that one. And that, without glue, goes in there. Just trying to line everything up. Just to put the ram in a little bit more. Right. Now it needs to go in further. There we go. That one. It does show on the plan that there's a little shelf, little ridge. Just try to keep it in focus. A little ridge on the end of the pivot pin that needs to go in the right way around. And then that is covered over. Oops, wrong way up. With a cover that goes on there. We'll leave that one off for the moment. I'll put all them back on. Right, the next one is, if I find it, this ram that goes in there. And this is the one that attaches the bucket. It's quite complicated, this, because it goes the opposite way to what you think it does, so just make sure you're getting it all right way around on the instructions. That clips on there, that clips on there, and that ram comes off. See a fiddle? That ram goes between the bucket and clips in there, he says. It does. that one goes on there. Right, we need another pivot pin. So I mean, it's quite fiddly. Another pivot pin to go in there, which is number 3. That one. Now these will only go in one way. As you see here, there's an opening this side, and on the other side it's blanked off. So try that through there. I'm trying to break something as we're doing this. See what I mean? The tolerances are quite tight, so you need to take your paint off. Going. Use something to push it home. There we go. That's that one done. Just move. And then we come to this end where these rams that we did before, they will go in here in the base assembly. Now I'll just leave them loose for the moment, because what I'm going to do is add some hydraulic pipes to the back of here and also to the base of this in here. So what we need, it gives you the measurements as we go around, and cut out all the appropriate pipes. So we will need 4 of them at 20mm. So I need 4 of these. Can't find my knife, there it is. We can actually use a cutting mat for this, 2 squares, 10-20mm. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and these go on the end of the arm on here. I've test fitted this pipe onto here, and I do believe that you can push them on and they will fairly well stick. They are fairly tight. It's looking to me like there's actually only 3. Oops. There's only 3 pipes needed, not 4. Never mind. I find the aid of tweezers stops the fumbling about. Whoops, he says as he drops it. There. Maybe a drop of super glue would just hold them on. That's that one done. And now we do need 4 at 35. One, two, 3.5. One, two, 3.5. There we go. One. Two. Three. 4. And these feed on to the bottom of here. I think what they do, they feed through the slot at the back of here. So what I would suggest is feed them through and then attach them to the ram. It's amazing how the machinery, as big as it is, as powerful it is, just by the use of liquid hydraulics, how the machines of enormous size can lift and move huge weights just for the power of a liquid. There we go. Right, that's them in. Straighten them up at the back. I can't see them going anywhere else, so I think this is just for effect. In there. Right, next is to put this in. Now these three pipes go in there, and there is now a pivot pin to go in the bottom here, which is number 1, that one. And then these rams can push fit in there, he says. I think they may be a bit tight because I haven't taken the paint out of them. Yep, they're a bit tight because I haven't taken the paint out of them. There we go. And this one. And there, bring it back into view. There, we'll bring the camera down a little bit. For all intents and purposes, is the completed digger arm. Just a little bit touched up to doing it. We have some hydraulic pipes just to fix in here. The kit itself, oops, if I get them making a little noise in the background. The kit itself provides these rubber hydraulic hoses to go in the back, to go in between these, because that would take the power from the hydraulics up the top to that ram, and then come round. The hydraulics then would go down here to this ram and this bucket and things like that. So all of them have got to go on. Just got to finish off putting some of the caps on and things, get it all fixed up, and then we'll have a final look at it all together. All right, I'll go do that, and we're about done. Okay, right, just as you come back, we're just getting round to fixing the final hydraulic hose on, and yep, I think that's done it. Yeah, it's looking about dried off there. Yeah, it's a difficult piece, this bit. You really need to take your time and plenty of patience to get these hydraulic hoses on. Cutting them from the rubber sprue is quite easy enough to do. Just make sure you pick the right ones, and then check and double check from the plan, the instructions, where they go, because it is sometimes a little bit sort of difficult just to work out where they go. But there are holes, locating holes in the rams and on the ends of the pipes as well, but it is sometimes a little bit confusing. Just making sure you've got the right hose for the right part and position. Yeah, the hoses themselves, they do add quite a bit to it, and it's looking quite nice now. It all adds to it. What I'll probably do once everything is set up and everything's gone off, I'll probably go around and all the pipe unions here and on the ends of the hydraulic hoses, I'll probably just touch them with some metallic metal stainless steel coloured paint, just to touch up and make it look like the unions. But otherwise I think it's fairly good. I would suggest that once the excavator is all together, you choose a position that you want the arm to go in, and I think I would then glue it in position, because it is quite fragile. It's not a toy, it's not one to be played about with, but yeah, I'm not going to attempt to move it because I'll break something, but that's what I'm going to do. Now then, what did I use to glue these hoses on with? I used some CA glue, some super glue, and rather than apply it straight from the bottle onto there and it goes everywhere, use a little container just to drip it into. Now I've gone and pinched one of the wife's sewing needles. This is out of a sewing machine, so it's actually quite ideal for it, because it's got a little grip at the end, and then just snap the eye off to leave two little prongs. I don't know if you can quite pick it up, but there's two little prongs on there, and it's just ideal for picking the glue out of the container. and just applying it, just a dab of it in position, because that's all you need with super glue. It's just a dab, just a little tip there. But right, I don't think we're going to have time to in this video to go on and do the digger shovel, the shovel that goes on the front of the digger, the plough type thing. But what we'll do that in the next video. We'll also looking at probably doing some further chipping and further work on this, or we might just leave that until the end and then do some final weathering at the end. But in the meantime, I'll leave it for now. I'll better put this down before I break it. But that's it. That's the digger arm done. It's quite a nice piece of kit, and as you can see, that black primer coat does sort of lend itself to that orange. It sort of takes the glary orangeness out of it, and it makes it more industrial and mechanical looking. But anyway, I'll leave you for now. Thanks very much for watching. Ted here, Ted at eModels, emodels.co.uk. Don't forget, like and subscribe down here somewhere underneath the video, and if you click the notification bell as well, you'll get to know when all the videos become available as well. But in the meantime, we'll see you in the next video. See you around sometime. Don't forget, go and have a look at the website, see what they've got, and I might have something like this. Okay, bye now. Bye.